David, tell me about the exhibition we're at.
So the exhibition, we're in Copenhagen, 3 days of design. This is our latest exhibition 3, which is 3 designers from 3 Nordic countries working with 3 different timbers. Our designers are Pia from Malmö in Sweden, Anna Maria from Oslo in Norway, and Anne here from Copenhagen.
And 3 women as well, which is a statement.
Yes, it is, and one actually that we're really pleased about. I mean, I've been around in the wood and design industries, all my working life, and there needs to be more balance. The timber, the sawmill, even the craft world is very male dominated, and has been, and there needs to be change. And I think we didn't set out originally to structure it that way, but having met Anna Maria in Milan last year, she's from Oslo and was doing extraordinary things with wood, with an extraordinary narrative, that we thought, wow, are there other people like her that are the next generation, experimenting, exploring materials and trying to present fresh ideas about them in other countries? And we found them. We have 3 fabulous designers.
Hi guys, my name's Amy Frearson. I'm a journalist and editor based in London. So great to be talking to you all. Why don't you all introduce yourselves and tell me where you're from and what wood you've been working with.
So my name is Anna Maria Øfstedal from Norway, and I was given the American hard maple.
My name is Pia Högman. I'm a Swedish furniture designer from Malmö, and I have been working with the American red oak.
My name is Brandhøj, and I'm educated as a furniture designer, and I live here in Copenhagen.
And I'm right in thinking all 3 of you, none of you'd worked with like American hardwoods or hardwoods that much, particularly before. You all sort of largely worked with locally sourced woods. And maybe this is a question for all of you, but I'd love to hear a little bit more from each of you about the kind of how you found the experience of working with the wood that you were given. Anne-Maria, maybe you can start and tell us a little bit. Tell us the wood that you're working with.
Yeah. So I got the American hard maple, but when I actually started working with it, I was so surprised how hard it was. It was very much different from what I've been working with and upon earlier. So, but a very, very fascinating to see how there are so many wood types. And also the positive thing is that the American maple, when you cut it, clean cut, you almost don't need to sand the edges because it's like soup, since the wood is so hard, it's like a super silk cut. But again, if you're shaping it with a chainsaw, as me, then you need to sand it a bit, and that was maybe the hardest work in this project. The sand, and also for you, I guess, yeah. Yeah.
You had a similar experience,
I did.
With the cherry.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about it.
As you said, it was really hard. It's hardwood, and I've been working with a router, and although I've bought totally new, very, very sharp router bits, they they left some really, really hard marks and also burn marks. And I think it's because the cherry has some sugar in it, or more sugar, because of the fruits, of course, and it burns really, really quick. And to remove these burning marks, you really, really need to sand a lot and very hard. And since both Anne-Marie and I, we are making organic shapes, you cannot sand with machines. You have to do it by hand.
Pia, tell us a little bit about you working with the red oak.
Yeah.
How was your experience of it?
I found that the American red oak that I worked with was it had really huge pores and large grains, and it was not as smooth as your wood types. It's really good to, if you want to stain or if you want to treat it, because of these big pores. And also we found out that it's really good to glue. So my design is, in the beginning we tried different joints, and we found that just gluing is strong enough. Mm-hmm. So we didn't need any extra screws or plugs or anything. We just glued the wood, and it's super strong.
I'm going to kind of circle back to it. This idea of kind of, you know, like working with a hard wood, you have to be quite strong, and you know, the world of kind of wood and this type of craft is generally like quite male dominated. So this is quite a rare, great thing for us to be here, three women who all don't just design but also, you know, make things in the workshop as well. What's your experience of that? Do you find that it's sort of quite hard sometimes being a woman in an industry that's quite male dominated, or do you feel that there are a lot of women in this area that are maybe just underrepresented?
Two things. One is that I've kind of have a principle that I'm only making things that I can do myself. And sitting in front of these big ones is a little bit, because I can actually not lift them myself. I can make them myself, but I cannot lift them. So when I'm like cutting out a trunk, I'm really carefully cutting a piece that I can lift myself, because otherwise I cannot work. That's one thing that I have felt that I have to prove that I can do it myself, because otherwise it's not my work in a way, which is stupid because it can be. I can also just like draw and someone else can make it. But I have some limits with my like own body, because I'm not super buff and I'm tall, but I'm not big. But I have experienced it coming to especially a sawmill, where I never meet any women there. And they are always like, okay, they're trying to tap into like, what are you here for? And when I did my final project, I was actually, at that time I was also blonde. Coming to the sawmill, like, I need some planks and they need to be very thick and totally dry. And he was very kind to me, and he was like, sorry, ma'am, there's something here you don't understand. We cannot, like, you cannot have a plank this thick, totally dry, ready for furniture. That is not possible. And from that day I was like, okay, I'm never gonna stand in that situation again. I need to go out and figure out myself. And that was also like the drive in me to start to cut down trees and dry them myself, so I could see that process and so that I knew more.
Pia, you're nodding your head. Have you had sort of similar experiences?
Yeah, I like to collaborate with different makers and people with different knowledge, and it is mostly men in carpentry workshops and metal workshops and stuff. But I think if you know what you want to do and you find someone that kind of understands you and speak the same language in like a design language, then you just have to know what you want from it.
Anna-Maria, you told me when we spoke before that you have quite a rebellious nature, so I feel sort of being a woman in a male-dominated industry must have come quite natural to you.
Yeah, I couldn't care less about people or if they react to anything. I feel like I'm now in the place also where actually men come to me and want to learn about how I shape with a chainsaw. So it's, yeah, I think of course there's, as you're saying, there's the physics, we can't really argue on that one, but sometimes also men do need help with the second part, because we build big sometimes and then we actually need forearms.
And how did you end up kind of developing this particular technique that you have? Obviously it's very distinctive, we can see from the works here of sort of this kind of essentially shaping with a chainsaw, but it's actually still quite a handmade process.
Yeah, so I think that was also like a bit like rebellious side to product design and design process, because I was always said from my professors when I studied that in a design process you need to do this, this and that. And it's like very A4, and this is what design is about. And then I was like, this is not my education. I don't want to follow step 1, 2, 3 when I'm supposed to be creative and have that exploration within materials and shape. And that was also my specialization. I had aesthetic and materiality. So I started actually just like have more abstract thoughts and kind of ask myself, why does a chair have to necessarily look like a chair? Yeah, it's supposed to hold a human being, but it doesn't need to have everything that the four legs or the very sharp. Also, it so like differs in shape what you can create. So I guess it just started from there and explored different kind of tools, and then I came over chainsaw and different kind of router tools, and tried to express more personality and have more artist expression, I guess, and sculptural expression, and working more organically within shapes, and yeah.
And this is a sort of language you've been developing for a while over a few different projects. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the works that you've created here and what the sort of thinking was behind them, and how you ended up with these three forms?
We're giving this wood that we were supposed to have like a deep exploration within, and the wood itself was the brief, mainly. We didn't really have a brief. It was do what you want to do within the wood you were given. I work very intuitively in my process. I didn't know pre-hand what I was going to make. I wanted to explore and see what happened when I kind of did my research within the material, and had some bits and pieces that I noted, for example, that the grains in American maple was very visual when you started hand shaping and carving down in it. So I wanted to express that. That's why I made a stool that is totally hand carved in each and every way. So if you turn it and twist it, you can see everything is hand shaped with a chainsaw. But I also wanted to see how the material could be in contrast with something that is CNC geometrically very straight and planned out, in contrast with also the hand-shaped, sculpted shape language. So that's why I also, and then maybe the product designer comes in within, and what needs to be straight that can carry stuff, shelves or tabletops, or yeah. So then I decided to make a shelf or a standing shelf and have a different kind of expression and organic sculptural waves on the legs itself, and yeah, have the kind of contrast within each other.
And Pia, tell me a little bit about the works that you're showing here, and what was your sort of strategy behind working with the red oak?
I wanted to lift the materials possibility to be treated with different surface treatments. I tried to explore techniques that has been used with oak, like traditional techniques to color it. So I've tried to ammoniac smoke one of the furnitures, and that's an old technique to darken oak wood. It's by using the fumes from ammoniac, you darken it. And I also tried to explore how to make different qualities of the wood come out more. So some are showing more of the grains and more of the pores, and some are showing how it looks when it's completely lacked with a heavy, thick lack layer. And I think they shows a variety of different characteristics.
And this sort of kind of typifies your approach, right? You're quite kind of methodical in the way that you work and design, and you sort of research is kind of a key aspect of what you do, right? You like to kind of explore traditional methods and then explore new ways.
Yeah, like forgotten methods. I find it really interesting to find something that has been used before and maybe isn't used that much anymore. I also did experiments with vinegar, acid, and iron to darken wood, to make it total black or grey-ish. And also to wipe off all the paint and just leave it in the pores. And I think that's really interesting, the outcome of those pieces. It's like a denim or like a tiger's fur almost. The design of the chair is like making a simple, strong construction, like a traditional Swedish wooden chair that is really comfortable and strong in itself, and then just show these expressions from the surface treatments.
And I'm going to move on to your pieces. Maybe you can explain a little bit about how you created these very monumental objects.
I usually work with very big volumes, and it comes from like when you have the tree trunk and start to remove material, and that's also why I usually work with very organic shapes, because it is what I'm drawn towards, but it's also like a part of nature, for me at least. And yeah, when I was giving planks, I thought, okay, maybe now I have an opportunity to work with the inside instead of the outside, because I always have a trunk, and then I mount it on the lathe or something else, and then I just like work my way into a form. So now, like before gluing all these planks together, I could give form to them. So that's basically what I've done. I've cut out these shapes in the planks and then gluing them together afterwards to still get like the volume that I like so much, but also to, whenever you make an organic shape in wood, you get to see the grains in a totally other way than when it's just a flat piece. And that's what I really like about wood. It's to like show the piece and show that wood is different. Every piece is different. As you said, it's like it comes from nature. It has been living out there in the forest before it's cut down, and every tree is unique. And I want to put that into play instead of trying to hide it with like whatever treatment or cutting planks that is all alike. So I was really happy about the American cherry because it has a lot happening inside. There's a lot of structure, a lot of variations in color also.
What do you kind of hope people will think when they come and see this exhibition? You know, 3 women working with a wood, you know, 3 woods that are not necessarily widely used in Scandinavia, and creating the types of forms that maybe women aren't maybe expected to make. What do you, how do you think people will react?
I hope they just don't see us as women, but as designers, makers, artists. This is what we do, this is what we create. So I hope they like it and have a great time.
What about you, Maria?
I want them to see the wood, because I'm obsessed with wood and I really want to show this material, and I want people to also notice how wood is used around them.
Yeah, I think just the whole concept with 3 materials, 3 women, I think it's very strong, and I think that we can go women. And Scandinavia and American hardwood.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.